What's happening, Party Animal Nation? It's hashtag RDM or Russell Devin McLain. And I just want to say thank you for downloading and subscribing and supporting. And I especially want to thank our sponsors. Speaking of which, I got a brand new sponsor for you today. It's DraftKings.com. And I want to tell you that DraftKings.com awarded over $300 million. I said $300 million in prize money last year. It almost sounds too good to be true, but it's the truth. $300 million. And if you didn't get in on the action, it's not too late. DraftKings.com, it's America's favorite daily fantasy sports site, and it's on the way to award even more money in 2015. The awesome thing is about playing daily fantasy sports at DraftKings.com is there's no season-long commitments, and you can play when you want to. You're never stuck with the same players, and you can choose any sport you like, from college or pro hoops, hockey, golf, and now daily MMA. That's right, daily mixed martial arts. It's quick and easy. All you got to do is choose 5 fighters, stay under your cap salary, and you can be on your way to a major payday. Now for the good part. Listen up. When you use the promo code RRN Live, that's RRNLIVE. When you register at DraftKings.com, you can win your share of prizes up to $1 billion. That's right, I said $1 billion. This year. So all you got to do, folks, is use the promo code RRNLive at DraftKings.com, and you get a free chance at taking home instant cash this weekend at DraftKings.com. Don't forget, promo code RRNLive. That's RRNLive. Now, it's time for the show. Wednesday, February 18th, 2015. Happy Mardi Gras from right here in South Louisiana to you all over the world. Happy Valentine's Day. And by the way, guys, now's a good time to go get that Valentine's Day candy for next year and save a little money. Nah, I'm just playing. Thank you for downloading. Got a great show for you today. I'm joined by some great people. I'm going to talk about a few things. First and foremost, I got to get it out of the way. I want to say thank you so much to all of our sponsors and to all of you for downloading wherever you're listening to us from, whether it be TuneIn, Player FM, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Podfeeder, Spreaker, RRN.com. By the way, that is the website you go to get all the information about the Radio Random Network. Find out about all our great guests. Speaking of great guests, hey, guess what? Friday, Sounds of Louisiana. Now, I know he don't really have a whole lot to do with Louisiana music, but he is a damn good musician, recording artist. Hell, he can sing like Elvis, George Jones, Conway Twitty, the one and only Ronnie McDowell is going to be on the Radio Random Network, Sounds of Louisiana podcast right here with me. Well, I'm getting kind of tongue-tied here. I'll tell you what, today, I want to send a shout-out to my friend in Canada, Miss Patricia Geigen, who was on the show not too long ago. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you very soon out in L.A. Miss Patricia going to the Craig Dawswalt Rockstar Marketing Boot Camp. But she's got a book called Karmic Alibi. I've been reading the book. You know, it's very, very, very interesting, very good, gaining expedient wisdom by leaving your excuses behind. And we can all use a little positivity. Hey, look, if you want to support the Radio Random Network, let's get that out of the way. All you have to do is go to iTunes and Stitcher Radio, leave a rating and honest review. Very much so appreciated. You can support us by sharing and liking us on Facebook. You can retweet and follow us on Twitter at RRN Live on Twitter. And I think In the Now Podcast. That's at In the Now Podcast on Twitter. By the way, what are you doing right now? Maybe you could tweet that to me. Maybe you could tell me what you're doing right now. Are you driving down the road listening to us? Are you at the gym working out? Are you hanging out on your mom's couch? It doesn't really matter because it's all fun. It's all cool. It's Wednesday. We're almost to Friday. The weekend's almost here. And by the way, did I tell you Ronnie McDowell's going to be on here with me? I don't know if I mentioned that or not a while ago. Shout out to my homeboy from down under, Brother Clint Morris and the October Coast Gang for hooking us up today with our guest, Maria Collis. And boy, I hope I don't botch his name. You know, the Southern drawl and all that stuff. It works for some people. Sometimes it works for me, but sometimes it doesn't. Brian Prisco. And we're going to be also joined by Los Angeles diva and front lady for Billy and the Rebels, Miss Shaye. Very, very, very good conversation. We talk about the ins and outs of the music business. You can check their stuff out as well. I'll give all the links and stuff in the show notes. But let's get back to Maria and Brian. I'm sure you remember the Choose Your Own Adventure books and how you could pretty much dictate the direction of the story as it goes, you know. Well, this is pretty cool. Movie Maze. I'm going to say it again. Movie Maze. Movie Maze is the very first interactive movie app for mobile devices. It's an app for you know, like for smartphones and tablets and other mobile devices. And the cool thing about it is Miss Maria Collis and her husband created this thing. Now, you can get the Movie Maze app already on iTunes and I think the Google Play Store and all that good stuff. Pretty neat. They join us to talk to us about the app and the pros and cons and the challenges that they had to face. Because like I said, in the app, you get to choose how the movie ends. So we're going to talk to them in a few minutes. And like I said, Billy and the Rebels coming up. But before we get to them, guys, before we go any further, okay, I got to keep the lights on. And I got to keep the internet going, and I got to keep mama happy, and I got to keep these kids happy. So we got to pay a bill, and when we come back, we'll be talking the front lady of Billy and the Rebels, Miss Shaye. Very cool little interview. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Crank it up. You know, these days, a lot of people don't really have a whole lot of time to read. They're always on the go, always too fast, and it's a shame. I got a solution, though. You can go check out audibletrial.com. Just want to tell you that today's podcast is brought to you by audible.com, and you can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial by visiting www.audibletrial.com/RRN2015. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Now, like I said, all you got to do is visit www.audibletrial.com/RRN2015.
You're listening to In the Now podcast on the Radio Random Network. For more information, visit www.rrnonline.com. And now, enjoy the show.
Joined today by none other than Miss Shaye from Billy and the Rebels. Shaye, how you doing today, sweetie?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Oh, doing great. We're a little wet down here, but other than that, it's all good.
Yeah, happy Mardi Gras.
Yeah. So, do y'all do anything over there for Mardi Gras?
I personally don't. I do have friends that do, but, you know, it's not really a tradition down here. It's just kind of...
Yes, indeed. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's talk about the origins of Billy and the Rebels. How did this whole thing start?
Well, I came into it a little late in the game with Billy and the Rebels. But I know they had started writing, and when I came in, they had a lot of fantastic music that Derek had already written. And for those of you who don't know, Derek is the head honcho. He's the, you know, crazy guitarist, and he's the one who kind of holds us all together. And so when I came in, he had already, you know, had a lot of great music, and then we just continued to write, and I mean, I love it. It's fantastic.
You also have a member of the band, Michael, on the bass, correct?
Yes, Mike is the bassist.
So how did you and Derek, how did all that come about? How did you get involved with these guys?
A friend of a friend kind of referred me because they were looking for a lead singer. And you know, I went and auditioned, and they called me back. They're like, "We absolutely love you." I was like, "Great," because I love you guys too. And we just hit it off like nearly automatically, you know. And I mean, it's been work and a progress to get everything, you know, situated and together. But I mean, I love it.
You was talking a few minutes ago about coming in late in the game. Now, is this your first time with a band?
No, I've been in several, you know, different bands just growing up. I started music when I was 15. but by far this is my favorite band.
Coming up as a child, was music a part of your household?
It was in a way because my grandmother, she always, had a wacky instrument. My grandma plays, the saw, the spoons, anything she could get her hands on, even if it wasn't necessarily a musical instrument. But I grew up singing, and although I was terrible, I kind of, I sang in the shower, I sang around the house, even when people asked me to stop. And then for some reason I turned 15 and it just kind of clicked, and I started playing piano and writing songs, and it was like a springboard from there.
Now, whenever you joined Billy and the Rebels, was the band already, you said you went and tried out, was the band already established before you, or was it something that is the brainchild of Derek and Michael and yourself?
I know that Derek and Michael were in another band, still them, before I came into the picture, and there was a lead singer before me, and so I came in, and it was already kind of established, but they were looking for, a new image, and so I became a part of the image.
Yes, indeed. Now, what influenced you to, I mean, you were talking about your grandmother and coming up, and she played all these goofy instruments and everything, but what really inspired you to become a singer?
I went and saw a musical showcase for my 15th birthday, and it was with a bunch of my friends and my sister and my mom and my grandma and my aunt, like basically just a big girls' night out. And we went and saw an indie music all-girls show, because I wanted to go to a concert, and that was my mom's compromise. So I went and saw them, and I just saw their passion for music and what they were doing, and I was like, you know what, I really want to do that. And I pulled down a keyboard from my dad's rafters when nobody was home, taught myself, and I went to my birthday party, which we always celebrate later, and I started playing my grandma's piano, and everyone kind of looked at me like, she didn't play the piano. But I found passion in others. I saw their drive and just their excitement on being on stage, and I've always been kind of a performer. I like to entertain people, whether, be making silly voices or funny faces. It's always been kind of in me.
Now, as it progressed with the Billy and the Rebels, you guys you started touring.
I haven't been a part of the touring as of yet. That was a little bit before me. But I do get to hear about all the stories and all the awesomeness about crazy setups and all of that.
Now, have you been on any tours?
I've been on some local ones, like, from here to Colorado and back, but not anything to that extent. But I do look forward to our many, tours and such.
Well, even as a young lady and being on the independent music scene, and like you said, you're doing, local tours in Colorado, what's the road life like for you as a female?
Personally, I love traveling. I've always, that's always been a passion of mine, is I want to do music and I want to travel. That's like the two main important things to me. And so I love the road. It does get kind of like, it gets kind of like monotonous because it's constant road and pit stops. But I always travel with family or close friends. So, I mean, those are where some of my best memories are, cars breaking down, having to walk or, push a car. Those are like some of my best memories.
So, what about the opening acts? Did you do anything with, was you in with the Cheap Trick and the Foo Fighters and Sum 41 and all that good stuff? Have you had a chance to open for anybody?
I haven't yet. That was all Derek and Mike.
Okay. So how long have you actually been with the band?
I believe it's about 6 or 7 months.
Okay. So, I mean,
yeah.
You have a very unique sound, and it's, I mean, with the Puppet Man, and I mean, it's very good. But who is, I guess, some of your musical influences as far as like anybody that you listen to or draw from?
A lot of my influences were friends of mine that were, indie artists and stuff, but some of the more mainstream is I really loved, Christina Aguilera, Pink, Paramore, Hayley Williams, just girls with a lot of soul and punch behind their voices and passion behind the music, anyone that you could tell has been through, struggles, and they've brought themselves out of it and made something awesome.
Now, you was talking about Christina Aguilera and Katy Perry and all them good, the top recording artists. What is your thoughts on the music business today as a whole for a female?
I do think it's a very tricky business to get into, and you have to have a good head on your shoulders, especially, going into it, and just like not letting yourself get disappointed if, for some reason you don't exactly make it to where you want to. It's a very interesting business. You go into it, and everyone wants to be a rock star. Everyone wants to be famous. Everyone wants everyone to know their name. But kind of the way I've gone about it is, this is my passion, and I'll take it as far as I can. I'll put everything I can behind it and keep going and keep going. And I'd be happy if I inspired one or two people, as opposed to just sitting in my living room. And so the music industry is very different than how it used to be, because they are looking for something different because everything's been played, and so that's why I love our unique sound, is because it's not something you've heard before. It has a lot of similarities and a lot of kind of, those good old sounds familiar, but at the same time it's got a new twist, it's got a new sound, it's got a new look,
Yes, indeed. Now, Saturday night, February 21st, 11 p.m., you have a show with, it's Billy and the Rebels at the world-famous Whisky A Go Go in West Hollywood, California. And what is your thoughts on the Whisky A Go Go? Is this going to be your first time taking the stage there?
I have played around there. I haven't actually played Whiskey. And the thing about that is that we got switched this weekend from an open, call for record companies to a closed call. So we actually won't be performing the Whisky A Go Go this weekend. They couldn't accommodate our schedule that we needed, so we had to, kind of say, we've got to go for what we need, and so yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's a closed call showcase, pretty much for the record companies.
Yes, yeah. So we've gone from an open to a closed, basically a showcase to kind of show what we have. And
so, I mean, how's your nerves for that? What are you doing to prepare for something like that?
I get really nervous sometimes, but I don't get nervous till after I'm done, because oh my gosh, did I do well enough? Did I, was my stage present right? And all of that stuff. But I've been working with Derek and his wife on choreography and stuff like that, and I prepare. I listen to the songs nonstop, and I had to put headphones in because finally my mom was like, all right, I love your songs, but I'd like to enjoy them a little bit longer. So I sing, I warm up. I do get sick a lot, so I've had to, work on keeping my voice safe and drinking lots of tea and honey and lemon and just, keeping my voice well lubricated.
What is the best advice that you've ever been given by a seasoned musician or seasoned person from the entertainment industry?
Best advice, probably it has to do with keeping a good head on your shoulders. connecting yourself with the right people who have your best interest in mind, not their own, and just keeping good people behind you, not like behind you, but like as if they have your back, and me, I'm a Christian, and so I have a good prayer team behind me and people who, will support me in what I do.
Really? So, I mean, what is your, do you have the support from your family? You're playing?
Yeah. Completely supportive family. They've put time and money and long hours. I wake them up in the middle of the night to listen to music, They've been very patient and very, very supportive with me, and they're my biggest fans and my biggest critics.
Now, you were talking about being a Christian and everything and keeping your faith. In the music world, sometimes, there's some dark corners and sometimes negativity's there, whether you want it to be or not. Is it a challenge for you to keep your faith sometimes?
I think, yeah. I'm going to be honest. It's definitely a challenge to keep your faith in an industry that, wants it to be all, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But when you have the right group behind you, it's not easier, but it becomes more. It does become easier for you to keep, on track and on the right path, because you have, mentors and people saying, hey, you need to think about your choices and how those come off. And it's always been a goal for me to be a good example to young women. And so, I do take the extra time to think about what I'm wearing, what I'm saying, what is my message going out, just because I know the women that I saw perform, they were all, they had their own sex appeal and they all looked great, but they were also modest and they had a lot of self-worth in themselves just with their voices. It didn't have to be all, half-clothed or anything like that. And so,
Yes, indeed. And before I let you go, what is some of the, where do you see yourself with the band in the next coming year? What is your main goals for the next coming year?
Well, I hope to have hit it big, honestly. I know that all of us, me, Derek, Mike, all of us are putting in a lot of work and a lot of time. And, Derek sits up and just completely works himself till he passes out, sleeping. Just working on the mixes and writing, and we put a lot of time into our practicing and our setting everything up. And so, I hope in the next few years to be, playing in front of stadiums and people being inspired and encouraged by our music, just listening,
Yes, indeed. Well, Miss Shaye, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. For more information, you can go to BillyandTheRebels.com. You can find all their links for their social media, and you can keep up with their shows. You can also get some music on there, find out more about the band, and you can also find out how to book these guys. So, without further ado, thank you so much, Miss Shaye, and we wish y'all the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was a fun interview talking to the young and talented Miss Shaye from Billy and the Rebels. They have a closed showcase this week. I did not know that. My fault. No big deal. All right, everybody. What I'm going to do right now is tell you a little bit about how you can support the Radio Random Network. There's many ways you can support Radio Random Network if you would like to. First and foremost, you can shop with our affiliate, Amazon. Very easy. Go to rrnonline.com. Click the support. I think it's on the right-hand side. And there's an Amazon banner. All you got to do is go through there, do your shopping. Every time you shop at Amazon, they kick a little bit of bread back to us. Helps pay the bills. You can also donate monetarily through PayPal or Patreon. That's patreon.com/RRN Online. You can also rate and review the show, and that's one of the most important things to me, is rating and reviewing the show on iTunes and or Stitcher Radio or word of mouth. You can, like I said at the beginning of the show, you can share our stuff on social media or tweet us, sign up for the newsletter. There's many ways you can support, and if you're interested in supporting, I encourage it. You don't have to. I just want to keep the show free. That's what it's all about. Just simply go to rrnonline.com. You'll find all the information you need to know about how to support the Radio Random Network. All right, joining me today on In the Now podcast on the Radio Random Network, I have producer, writer, and she's also known for Movie Maze, brand new app. I have Miss Maria Collis. He's an actor. Mr. Brian Prisco.
You did.
I did. How are you guys doing today?
Great, thank you.
So how's it been going?
It's crazy. Twitter's going nuts with talk about the Plumber. It's very exciting. That's our new Movie Maze title that we're going to be talking about today.
Comes out in February 13th. Is that correct?
Yeah, in fact, it's actually live on Android now, and it should be live on iTunes by Monday at the latest.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you a question. I mean, this is it's pretty much in a category in itself. It's one of a kind.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
What kind of challenges did you face putting everything together? I mean, what were some of the challenges that you had to face?
Well, yeah, thanks for reminding me. I didn't really tell you what Movie Maze was when you asked me, right? It is an interactive entertainment app for mobile devices, the first of its kind. So what you've got is you start to play a movie, and then every minute or two you have to make a choice about what happens next. Sometimes it takes you further down the story. Sometimes it branches you to a different story. Sometimes it's a dead end, and you have to try again. So the first challenge that we faced was simply reining in our imaginations to the budget that we had, because it was there's endless possibilities. And then, Brian, I think I'm going to have you pick up what are some, as the star of Plumber, and you also as the mechanic, tell about the challenges of acting in one of these multi-branching scripts.
Well, not so much a challenge, isn't it? What's really neat is because there's all the different branches and the way that Maria and Eric work with it, basically you can almost do anything. Like when you're in the space, it's a very free moment, so you know that here are these three scenes, and you know what the scenes are going to be, but you can change it slightly if you found something neat while you're filming. Like you can change the ending, or you can come up with something different, and we're always looking to play with that. So it is, in a regard, sort of like, we only have 3 decisions. You don't want to do all 12 of the things you're thinking of, because it is limitless for the movie maze. You do almost anything with it. That's what's so cool about it. You got this story where it's not just like a short film you'd shoot on YouTube. It's this thing where, you make choices. You control the character. You decide, are you going to kick the guy down the stairs, jump out the window, or run away? And depending on what you do, you either die horribly or you move on to a neat and interesting part of the story.
So Brian, you're the man. I mean, so you didn't have any trouble remembering different lines for different scenarios, or what your relationship was to this character in this version of the story, or anything like that?
Oh, we totally get confused. Which ending was it? All right, cool, got that. All right, what's wrong with it? It's variations on a theme. It's like jazz on the stuff. So it's not so much, it's a completely different moment. It's just, you open the door and you're not sure what's going to be behind it this time. You got to remember, all right, now this is where the moment is. This is the thing. Sometimes it's something scary, but it's something funny. You got to react differently each time.
Brian's incredibly creative. He makes it sound easy, but really, just keep their places where they are in the script is a challenge. We had to run a very, very tight ship because we were doing with low budget and limited amount of time. So we pretty much storyboarded out. The first time we did it, we storyboarded everything. So we knew exactly what shots we had to get. And then when we did the Plumber, as you can see, Brian, who is the main character and also did all the fight choreography and put in a lot of extra material, he went a little wild and free on us. So we were kind of running around to make sure we got all the coverage we could get whenever he came up with a cool new idea. But I think that's really the challenge on the set is more for the actors and in terms of continuity. The challenge for the form it's a brand new form. I mean, I'm a screenwriter, Rishi's a screenwriter, Brian's a screenwriter. We've all written before, but there's no template for this. And I mean, that's
really fun and really scary, and we think we're getting better with each script. We thought the mechanic was really fun, and the plumber is even better. And the next one we're going to do was penned by Brian. It's called The Babysitter. It's a horror title that we've been asked by fans to do a horror title, and it's a fabulous script, and it's, again, exponentially wilder and crazier than even Plumber is, and more complex and rich.
As far as working with the actors, the days, like, was it very long days?
It's a film day, so you're shooting on the day, but they shoot so many pages. They get so much done in a day. We move so incredibly quickly, even with all the ad-libs we throw in. That was really nice was, I mean, I don't know, people might not be familiar with the app yet, but when you get a chance to it, one of the storylines involved an alien overlord. And I mean, we had it scripted as to what needed to happen, but in the moment, in the scene, in the time, Steven, the actor who plays the Overlord, was just riffing like crazy, and so we were both riffing and we were going back and forth, so we ended up, slightly taking the scene to the left, but because we moved so quickly and were free to do that, we found all these great moments. Now, it's nice to be able to also get what we need from the script done, too, so there's this great freedom, but we're constantly barreling forward.
Yeah, I would say that just in terms of the days, we based it on a 12-hour day. We try to keep it below 12. I don't think we actually ran over once. The toughest day was the mermaid day because we have our wonderful actress, Dorothy Donovan, silicone mermaid tail, which took about three people to get her into and out of because, I mean, it really was really a fabulous tail, but very tight. And that was the toughest day to make. That was the day I was able to run home. But we still made it within, we tried to take care of the actors. It was a SAG shoot, so everybody, got fed and got their breaks, and we managed.
That's the other thing is, too, from the mechanic. I mean, I had a smaller part in the mechanic, but to this scope of the plumber, the mechanic, various storylines, but most of it took place in static areas or moved around, so it was like all sort of one encompassed, realistic kind of environment, even with the crazy stuff that ended up happening in the story. Whereas with the plumber, there were huge set pieces. Like, these are so distinct storylines that are completely different adventures. So one day we're shooting on, shoot out in the desert, doing a whole scene with witches, and the next day we're shooting on a boat, doing a whole thing with pirates. And I mean, the next day we're shooting in a studio, doing all this stuff with the aliens. And I mean, we're finding locations. It's nice because it's a big, it's got a nice budget to it. It looks very, you can see the budget there, but it's still got the spirit of an indie film. So we're still hard scrabbling and grabbing the shots that we can and rushing through it and keeping tight to the budget. So it's awesome in that it's this very extremely high budget studio looking indie, tiny, small, intimate film. So it's really cool.
Yes, indeed. Now, I guess this is a question for both of you. What was the experience like working with Miss Dorothy Donovan? Who, I mean, she's known for some pretty big roles.
Oh my God, she's an angel. She's the hardest working, but good natured. What we have put that poor woman through. In the mechanic, she had to sit for 6 hours to get into a werewolf makeup, and in this one, she had to get into this in and out of this mermaid tail. She never complains. She's just the best. She's the best, and she's our biggest supporter, I would say too. She's great.
I was Darcy's mermaid spotter for that tail, so I had to hold her while we wedged the tail on, and it was fun. So you really get to know your actors when you're having to hold them while they're basically being buttered into a silicone tail. Funny moment in the script. We wrote in a scene where the plumber asks her for a kiss.
Oh, right.
And so the way it was written, it was supposed to be, and get pulled into the kiss. Well, we botched a line, but unbeknownst to Darcy, she didn't realize it, so she just yanked me in and held me down. I was trying to break the scene. I'm like, wait, we got to stop. And No, we just keep going. It turned out to be pretty fun. I don't know if that's the tape that made it.
Well, the one where she ripped your shirt, she really wanted to rip his shirt. She said to me before, don't tell Brian, I'm going to tear his shirt.
Yes, indeed. Well, I mean, going from The Mechanic, which was the first release on the Movie Maze app, and now to The Plumber, did you find it easier with The Plumber? I mean, because, I mean, The Mechanic was the very first one, and you know, you went through the growing pains and whatever. I mean, when it come to The Plumber, did you know what to do and what not to do?
Yeah, I mean, there's always more. I mean, we learned a lot on The Plumber as well, but absolutely. I mean, The Mechanic was the first time we'd actually done a production with this crew. It was the first time that Eric and I had the specific roles on the set that we had, and it was the first time we worked with Rishi. Rishi directed. So definitely the second time you develop a rhythm, a rapport, you start to function as a team. And yeah, so it's definitely smoother that way. But again, the form has so many challenges, and the Plumber shoot was more complicated than the Mechanic shoot. So we had new challenges, but no, definitely, you definitely get better with each one, yeah.
With the Mechanic, when you were in the scenes, we were sort of finding what we needed in the moment, at least as actors. We're doing the scene and we have our lines, and we're sort of discovering like what we're going to need or what's going to work, because you're not exactly sure during that one. They have, it's all buttoned down, but having not done that it is a sort of a new thing. Having not done that, we're discovering what to do and finding it. Whereas with the Plumber, what was really neat was they had it locked down. It's like, all right, we need this, we need this, we need this. So because we were able to quickly get those moments, it gave us opportunities to find other ones. So we were able to actually create endings that you're going to see in the app that weren't in the script that we were able to kind of come up with. You're going to see these lines where, just from improv, we came up, riffing on what was in there in the script. We were able to find something, find something even funnier, or find a moment, because, what's on paper isn't always going to be what's in front of the camera. And so in the moment, in the scene, what we got, we started finding and discovering stuff. But it was only because we had, because they had it locked down this time. They knew exactly what we wanted, even with a larger scope. We were able to go boom, 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 nail the scenes that we needed, and then get time to play around a little bit and find even more stuff. So it's really cool because you get this genuine kind of surprising moment in the final product.
Well, and also speaking of Darcy, it was the first time we had worked with her on The Mechanic, and she does have some pretty strong credits, and you don't know what it's going to be like working with somebody who's a star, and but when we went to do The Plumber, we already knew how great she was, and we wrote the character in Mermaid 40. Had nobody else that at all. She was who we wanted, and so again, the more times you work with people. And that's another thing, too, is that we like to reuse many of the same actors in each one that we do, because we kind of like that Saturday Night Live sort of ensemble feeling. And so we have a lot of the same actors in The Plumber that appeared in The Mechanic. And again, you become like a family.
Right. You're there every day. So as far as how was it working with the likes of Mr. Eric
Lundmar?
Yes, Eric Lundmar.
He's the most creative. He's like this fantastic combination of really creative and yet extremely organized and conscientious, wouldn't you say, Brian?
Well, what's amazing about Eric too is that he was directing it this time. He was working the camera and he edits it. So because he knew where it's going soup to nuts, he would throw up a scene. He's like, I know how to make this work. I know how I'm going to make this work. Like he had it in his head. So when we shot a lot of ancillary stuff the one day, we were just kind of driving around LA, finding all these shots, and Eric had to pull over and get, I want to set this up here, and I want to do this thing here, and as an actor, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do what you say, and then he had it and he explained it, and he's like, this is what it's going to look like. I'm like, okay, but then he brought you in, he's like, here, check out the rough cut, and he'd show you, what it looks like, and then he'd patch in the special effects, and he'd set it all up, and you're just like, holy crap. But because he knew that going in, you know, it worked so much better where it's like you didn't have to worry like, all right, well, we'll fix it in post. I mean, he's the one who can fix it in post. He knows what it's going to look like when it comes down to the end. So, you know, it's such an integral and phenomenal. But like that's why I like working with Eric. It's just he's got a vision, and it's going to happen because he's going to be the one who's literally piecing everything together.
Yeah, I mean, he's really, I would say, been the driving force behind the whole project. I mean, Rishi and Dan came up with the original concept, and it wouldn't exist without them. And I loved it too, but Eric was the one that just said, you know what, we can greenlight this. Let's just greenlight this first project, The Mechanic. And I mean, he's a visionary. And okay, full disclosure, he's my husband.
Okay.
But you know, that was also really interesting because you know when we went to do The Mechanic, you know, husband and wife on the set together. You don't know, we hadn't done that before. We didn't know how that was going to work out. But you know, I would say living together for 15 years and raising 2 kids, you kind of doing a show together is easy compared to that, I think. So, and as I said, he really is. He's really so creative and so fun to work with that he's my favorite partner.
Well, you was talking earlier about your Twitter blowing up, and you know everything's going good with the as far as like I guess the fan interaction and everything with Movie Maze and the Plumber, but whenever the concept was thought up, how was it accepted inside the I guess the industry? I mean, did y'all have a lot of naysayers?
Yeah, it's interesting. We didn't bother asking. We didn't ask. What we did was we reached out to the Comic-Con audience, the gamers, young people, teenagers, the kind of people that share funny cat videos. Our audience, we went to our audience first, and they completely embraced it. And even the people who are establishment in terms of the gaming world and the Comic-Con world, they love it too. To be honest with you, the entertainment industry is having trouble catching up. 20th Century Fox bought the rights to all the Choose Your Own Adventure books almost 2 years ago now, and they're still figuring out what they're going to do with those titles. But that's the thing. When you work at that high level in show business, you can't be limber. You have to really think things through. You have these huge dollars behind it. Whereas because we were small, we could just greenlight it ourselves and put it out there, and the audiences love it. And, you know, the entertainment industry is catching up.
And the con people really like going to the conventions and sitting there, and you tell them, you're like, hey, check out this app. And they're like, what? And they come over because they're just getting bombarded with content on like a constant basis with people throwing them postcards and whatnot. So we bring them in, explain them as like, you know, it's an interactive film, like a Choose Your Own Adventure. And their eyes would light up, and then we'd show them how it works, and they just love it. And then we explain to them, you know, the third one that's coming out, the horror, and it's like horror comedy. It's a straight up horror film, and they were just like they were so excited. It's one of the things where it's like, you always say don't go in there to the girl in the movie. Now you literally control if you go in there or not. And that's what's cool about the app is that it's not a movie is the app. And there's new content that we can do, and the content possibilities you can do. Not just, we're stuck mostly right now to like sort of sci-fi action kind of adventure stuff. But you can branch out from there. You can do so many things. It's almost endless. And it's just, I mean, you're bounded basically by your imagination because you can pull this off because of the format and the formula that you come up with. You can just pretty much keep sketch comedy and playing it and making these newer and funner and even to the moment because it's such a short time to put together one of the movie mazes. You know, you can blast, they work so fast with it. You can blast the content quickly and quality-wise and great, and you got, you know, this almost endless assortment of possibilities. So people are really excited by that. Even them, they're thinking, you know, in their heads like, oh man, like you can see these kids thinking like, oh, what if I did this or what if we did that? Or you guys should try one of these out. We're like, yeah, man, we're a couple
I mean, and that's how we decided to do The Babysitter because these people that we met at these Comic-Cons were saying, oh, God, wouldn't it be great if you had a horror one? So we're very much responsive to our fans, and we're always asking. I'd like to put it out there, in fact, that we're always interested in feedback and ideas from our fans and what we can do to make the app better, what kind of stories do you want to see. Because, back to your original question, we're driven by our fans, not the industry.
Okay. Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, some people crack under the pressure of critics and all of that stuff, in which, I mean, a lot of times the critics, they really don't know what they're talking about anyway. It's usually probably some guy sitting there in his pajamas, watching YouTube all day. But
I used to be a film critic, actually, so I can attest that is exactly what we do. we are all 30, 40-plus gentlemen with large beards who sit in our basement complaining about comic books and movies.
We've been pretty lucky so far with the critics. We've been lucky.
It's funny on both ends too, where it's like, there are people who are gonna not like things. That's all right. If you make stuff for the people that like it, you don't worry about the naysayers. They're gonna come around to it. And then back to the industry stuff, it's sort of, you find out too, the industry is an industry. It's not an artistry. I mean, it's sort of, their business is to make money. Now, everyone wants to make money, but they're in that facet. They're not as imaginative as they could be.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's the thing. It's once you're big, you have to be very careful about your decisions, and you basically do what you know will work. You don't experiment. It's for small companies like us to experiment, and then eventually everybody's going to be doing this. We just happen to be first, and we want to be big and get it out there.
You look at it right now, the most popular things are the comic book movies. So the reaction of the industry is, all right, we're going to make every comic book movie and the sequels for the next 5 years. And people are like, oh, well, what about this comic, or this story's really interesting, or that? Like, no. Avengers 1, we are going to make Avengers. And the other reaction from the other studios are, we're going to make our version of the Avengers. And the other smaller studios are like, we're going to pick an Avenger and make a story like that. Whereas people are like, oh, but there's, if you read comics, if you read graphic novels, there's so many stories, so many interesting things, so many things that can be brought out there. And people are more like, no, we're going to do what works. Whereas we are coming at this from, like Movie Maze, what they're doing with it is, it's not just we're going to do what works, we're going to do what you want, and we're going to do what we want, and it's probably going to intersect, and it's going to look really cool.
Right. Now, Brian, you was talking about you're a member of the Online Film Critics Society, correct?
I used to be. When I was a critic, a couple of years ago. I am no longer a critic. I prefer to create, not destroy.
Now, on the same note, Brian, you're trained in theater, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, I have a degree in theater, English, and I have a master's in screenwriting.
And you also do you're also known for one-act plays?
Yep, writing. I've written some plays. I've written some novellas and some short story collections, and I'm working on screenplays. That it's neat in this new sort of creative, like the way, you talk to a lot of writers now. It's so easy to make your own content, and to put your fingers in a lot of different pies. I mean, I look at some of the authors that I love, and they're self-publishing, they're traditional publishing, they're doing comic books, they're doing screenplays, they're doing television series, they're doing novels, they're doing multiple series, and it's sort of like, that's what you want to do. It's like, you don't want to just, that you're that guy, you do this. Like, no, I do everything. It's fun that way. It's sort of like you can, as a writer, you can write a whole bunch of stuff. As an actor, you do television, you do theater, you do movies, you do commercials, you do print ads. You small, awesome, interactive apps.
Yes, indeed. Now, well, Brian, how is it going from, doing one-act plays and everything to, I guess, working with the Movie Maze crew and doing this now? I mean, what kind of challenges did you face, making that transition?
It's a thing that, when you do theater versus film are totally different animals, because theater's a live creature. Theater, you're out there in front of an audience reacting to what they do. If you mess it up, the next day you do it again in front of a different audience and a different experience. Whereas with film, you're etching in stone. You've created, it's not a living, breathing, constantly changing thing. It is you have made this and people are going to look at it. It's the difference between reading a poem and tacking one up against the wall. Whereas with this, what was neat, when my one-act theater experience is very go-getter style, I sort of decided when I did my thesis that I'm going to make these one-act plays, and rather than going through the department and all their productions, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to, where there's a stage in my actors, I will put on this play. And I did that. And then later, it's like you get relationships with people, and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to write these plays, I'm going to write these things, and I'm going to put them on, and I'm going to let them kind of grow and change and have fun and switch out actors and whatnot. Well, that's kind of like with this movie Maze, where you come into it and you got this stable of actors that you're familiar with, and so you change the scenes and you have it set up. When I was writing the script for The Babysitter, I wasn't just writing it for nebulous people that don't exist. I was writing it for the people we worked with. I was writing it in my head. I'm looking at the actresses that we worked with. I'm looking at actors that I worked in the theater. I'm looking at people that I know. I'm looking at the fact that we brought in a whole cast of people I'd never met before that are incredibly talented. So we got that avenue, and it just sort of comes together. That's what the challenge. When you're doing one-act plays, you kind of got this moment, and it exists. And if you don't like it, you can do it again. Whereas with movie Maze and with like film and stuff, you're aiming to make the best possible thing you can in the moment. But fortunately, you're surrounded by people you know and love that are going to work really hard for you and make all this great stuff.
All right. Well, let me ask you guys, is there any inspirational words you can give to anybody that wants to maybe follow in your footsteps as far as creativity, as a writer, as a producer, as an actor, as pretty much a visionary?
What a wonderful question. Don't let anybody tell you can't. Just don't. Surround yourself by people that believe in you. And if you can't find those, believe in yourself. Just create things that you enjoy, and then listen to the feedback. Take the criticism, but believe in your own vision. I think that's something that I wasn't as good at as I am now because, again, I have this partner who's incredibly creative and incredibly supportive at the same time, and he just says, here's an idea. We can do that, and we do it. And like I said, you don't ask permission. You have to work hard. You have to do your homework, right? You have to understand who your audience is going to be and how you're going to reach your audience. Those are things that make it a business rather than a hobby. But at the same time, it's art. It's your creative expression. Please yourself. Don't try and hit the lowest common denominator. Shoot high.
Yeah. Right. That's my advice. If you want to be a writer, write. If you want to be an actor, act. Do it. Fall on your face. Mess up. Do terrible. Write crap. Write garbage. Pump out 500 words a day of pure, unadulterated crap. And then go back and fix that, make it better, make it stronger, and change it till you're excited about it. Then put it away, then go at it again, and write more and write more. I mean, there's so many people that are aspiring to be writers and actors and all that, and don't aspire, do it. Just go out and do it. I mean, the money will find you. It's difficult to believe, but that's what you got to do. It's just, there's going to be so many people who tell you you shouldn't and you better not and you can't. And that's not feasible, and that's not possible. Don't you be one of those people. You gotta just do it. It's hard as hell, and it's difficult, but it's one of those things that let it be fun, And I had a professor who said, I asked him, everyone goes through the doubt whether they're a phony or whether they're really that, or whether or not they should own being a writer or an actor or any kind of creative. And I went to my professor in grad school with that, and I said to him, I'm doubting it. I don't know if I made the right decision. And he sat me down and looked at me, and he said, is it like breathing for you? Could you see yourself not doing this? And I thought about it, and I said, no, I couldn't. And he said, well, then you have to breathe, so you have to write. So, that's the thing. That's where it is. If the calling is strong enough to you, do it. You never know who out there is going to be overjoyed with something you created. There are plenty of writers out there who never saw fame while they were alive, and later tons of people worship them. You know, anyone can do this. Everyone can do this. You just got to do it and do it and do it and not stop.
All right, man. Well, that was words to live by Mr. Brian Prisco and the one and only Maria Collis. The name of the app is Movie Maze. It's the world's first interactive movie app for mobile devices. I'm talking about smartphones, tablets, and pretty much anything that you could download an app on. Now, the app is available now, correct?
The app is available. The Movie Maze app is free. The first title, The Mechanic, is free. You can get them on iTunes and Google Play. And The Plumber, as I said, is already available on Android. That's an in-app purchase. And it'll be out on iTunes any day now.
Awesome. You can learn more about them by going to www.movie-maze.com, and you can find out, you can connect with them on social media, keep up with all the updates that will be coming out here shortly, and especially with the brand new Plumber to be out any day on iTunes, and also the Babysitter that's going to be coming out really soon, written by Mr. Brian Prisco. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me today on In the Now on the Radio Random Network, and I do apologize for being late with you today. We was kind of behind, but hey, we got it done. And
thank you so much. You're terrific.
Thanks a lot.
And we'll catch up with you in a couple of months, and we'll talk some more.
You're listening to In the Now podcast on the Radio Random Network. For more information, visit www.rrnonline.com.